This home on Coach Slide Drive was ready for all sorts of memories, a retirement home for this family. Unfortunately, that storm moved through Friday, making this more of a nightmare situation for them, and it happened just minutes after they moved in.
It's heartbreaking, truly heartbreaking.
Shock doesn't even begin to cover how Val Axelrod is feeling.
Literally, there's a tree and my chimney is there and the door and other people's belongings are on the other side there.
This place, meant to be a home for her and her family, obliterated.
At 2:15, the movers drove off. At 2:23, I heard the noise.
Just minutes after move-in, the tornado hit. Trees through bedrooms, the roof somewhere blocks away, and lining the upstairs, furniture still in the packaging, ready to see the memories this home would have made.
This was my sister's bedroom, which now has a tree in it, and her bed, her furniture, her clothes.
It's scary enough to see this, knowing what they went through, but they weren't alone.
She would have been up here, and she wouldn't have been able to escape with the baby. And this is Addison. Yes, this is our shows that there is a God that loves us.
The room Val is standing in was meant to be baby Addison's. A fresh coat of paint, hangers in the wall, ready for the curtains. These pictures taken just before the storm tore through.
This is where my daughter's bed was. That's the fact that we have built a home here.
While they may be new to the neighborhood, they're getting help from neighbors like they've lived here for decades.
Never met anybody over there. I mean, look at these people. Half of the people out there, they're not from this neighborhood. They are here because that's what, as good people, they know what they need to do.
Cleanup will take weeks, if not months, a long process that Val says they're glad to be able to see.
You know, you never think it's going to happen to you. You just never, ever expect this kind of devastation to happen to you.
A man rode out the tornado in Little Rock in his work van and recorded the terrifying moments. Let's take a look at that video now, and we do warn you, there is some foul language. We've beeped it out. This is cell phone video from 24-year-old Cody Coombs, who works as a pest control specialist, finishing a service call when the winds picked up. Take a listen.
Holy.
All right, and then now we have another video from Cody, just that he was able to record this. Look at this. This is footage from the dash cam of his work van. Holy cow, the moment the tornado passes over, leveling the trees just like toothpicks and throwing that debris all around. Debris is one of the main sources of injury, Corrales tells us. Now, there's no audio on this video, but you don't need to hear it to see how terrifying it must have been.
Absolutely terrifying.
Right.
I just can't imagine how he was feeling at that moment. He probably felt stuck because he felt like he just
you can't get out, there's nowhere to go. And
yes.
Yeah, there was actually a funnel a few streets away. I believe we'll have that here in a sec. He was able to film it. So
yes.
Take a look. This is another one. Cody filmed the damaged houses and fallen trees around him, saying he was shell-shocked at what happened, and thankfully he survived. Listen in.
Holy dude.
In fact, he called it the scariest moment of his life.
This house.
Yeah, 100% did think I was going to die. Once I saw the winds pick up the way they did, my first thing that made me bring out my phone was the clouds in front of me were actually picking up some debris. So I saw little chunks of wood and roofing just being flung around in front of me. So I knew at that point it had to be nearby. I was just trying to see if it would come close enough to where I could record it. I did not think it was going to come from directly behind me. Luckily, my van was parked the way it was. The back of it is completely enclosed with metal cabinets. So the back of it is really safe. It did take a good little bit of damage, but if I had been facing the other way, it would have went right through the windshield. Yeah, this is my driver's side right here. I was sitting right there. I had a big tree branch come right here and leave this nice little indentation across it. I don't know how well you can see that. And the back of the van is where most of the stuff was coming since it came out from behind me. It's still pretty covered in dirt and debris. And then over here on this taillight, the taillight's completely missing, and it ripped into the van just a little bit right here.
New Commandment Church of God in Christ just had a mortgage burning ceremony on March 5th, celebrating the fact that they paid off their church just weeks ago, and 3 days ago, that same church destroyed by a tornado. But as you can see behind me, that's not stopping them on this Sunday morning. That's why my heart is filled with praise.
See, you see those beams? They came down from other places. That's not part of New Commandment.
Pastor Eddie Miller says God has showed his church grace. Even after paying off the mortgage for the church on March 5th, he says nothing happens without God allowing it to happen, and God showed his mercy by sparing lives. And Pastor Miller says if that storm would have been delayed by just 1 hour, the church would have been filled with at least 200 people. On Friday night, they had a youth program scheduled. The sanctuary, as you can see, just a disaster. But one thing left untouched, these 3 crosses here on this wall.
That's how quickly things can change. But the thing we have to wonder, is your faith real? Is it still strong when adversities come? When problems happen like this, do you still love God? Do you still believe God? And my answer is yes.
Pastor Miller says at the start of the year, they had been planning to do a service outside of the church for the community to draw those outside closer to God.
I guess God said, you're not moving fast enough.
I love you. I love you, Lord. I love you. I love you, Lord.
I commend y'all and for being here and being resilient and persevering through hard times.
The service starting at 11 a.m. with no planned time to end. One mission in mind, bring hope back to the community.
We're the church, and we're strong.
Miller saying he hasn't been sad at all during this time.
Excited about the next level. We just turned the page to a new chapter.
In fact, happy even that they can publicize what God has done and will do for them.
We spoke to one resident of the Lennox Apartments where we're right outside of now. She was here yesterday evening gathering some of her things, and the roofs of the apartment at Lennox were blown off. Now, several of them are now covered in blue tarps, and we told you earlier this morning there's folks out on those roofs nailing things down, making sure that they're secure. And she told us that her apartment fared well, but her windows were blown out, and she walked us through some terrifying moments on Friday as she took cover in her bathtub.
Sound like a train pretty much coming through. We had enough time to get to shelter, but like many people here, we really didn't think it was gonna, a tornado's gonna hit Little Rock like that.
This is Little Rock Fire Department's fire station number 9 here in West Little Rock, and I just want to, Danny, let's zoom in. I'll show you this. I mean, just look at the damage. Look at the power this storm has. It just ripped the side of this brick fire station completely off. I mean, everywhere we look, it looks just like this. The governor saying, this hits home, obviously for the firefighters that are here, but it also hits home for the governor who had a staff member affected personally by these storms. Take a look. As the sun rose on the aftermath, images straight out of a movie are now reality.
What we deem to be at least 2,100 residents within the western portions of Little Rock and southwestern portion of Little Rock were impacted.
And as residents toured the damage, so too did some of Central Arkansas's elected officials, including Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
This group represents all of Central Arkansas and Little Rock, this area that was hit so hard, and very thankful for their willingness and the cooperation that we've had.
Her morning started at Little Rock Fire Station 9, heavily damaged in the storm.
Despite the fact that they had a tornado literally coming through their station, we're worried about the community. That tells you who they are, and it tells you, I think, a lot about our state.
This neighborhood off Shackelford raised.
The biggest thing, like I was telling y'all, is we got to get the streets cleared, but the power is the big thing. Power is it's going to be very trying.
It joining many, like this neighborhood in North Little Rock, also destroyed. Trees on homes, X's mark the damage. The governor joining North Little Rock Mayor Terry Hartwick, touring damage too close for comfort.
This is the home of one of the staffers in our office,
And he found out that happened as he was sitting in our conference room responding to the storm. So we are so thankful they weren't here, that they're okay, and we're just here to help and be there for them in any way we can.
Cleanup in these neighborhoods will take weeks, if not months. Crews and neighbors all lending a helping hand, and the governor promising they won't be alone.
It's real simple. Whatever you need, we're going to come and provide it. If it's temporary shelter, if it's food, if it's clothing, we're coming together, we're going to work together, and we're going to make sure that the people have what they need.
Here in Wynne, Arkansas, about 50 minutes west of Memphis, there's been extensive and severe damage, but residents are picking up the pieces.
And there's so much devastation that it's going to be a long process.
Wynne, Arkansas residents say they have been through storms before, but never a storm that went directly through the heart of their city.
We're all right. We made it to our home and we were safe. We left the store about an hour before it hit. For 25 years, we have stayed and weathered the storm and got in the back room if there was one. This time, the storm hit about 4 and about 3 o'clock, and I said, I just feel like we need to leave this time.
Daryl Calvert and his wife Charlotte have owned Cordial Cottage, a general store, for more than 20 years.
Me and my wife, this was our livelihood.
Their family's business, along with a daycare, was destroyed less than half a mile away from the district's only public high school, also destroyed in the storm. Trees around the campus are completely uprooted. Most of the roof is torn to pieces and the main entrance has collapsed. With a population of nearly 8,300, the mayor of Wynne, Jennifer Hobbs, says the extent of the city's damage is still unknown. But Charlotte and Daryl say despite this tragedy, they will remain resilient and rebuild. A sentiment Brad South, whose nearby home was also hit by the tornado, shares.
We've had things like this before, and I have no doubt that our community will pull together and help out.
We've been talking all morning, and our plans, we believe right now, is to try to rebuild. Maybe not as big as before, but something to get us up and going. But it looks like it may take a year or better.
Now, over 20 people have been injured, and the coroner confirms there have been multiple deaths.
I feel like I was in a movie, and it was just like, it was a serious thing, but at the same time, it was like, this is really happening.
That's how Traylon Gaston remembers Friday afternoon when a tornado ripped through his neighborhood, damaging his house.
It was trees, literally trees everywhere, front and backyard, and now they just basically all gone.
Gaston and his family are okay, but still processing the scary situation. Now they're shifting their focus to cleanup, and the community is rallying with them.
I have never seen, not even half, majority of these people a day in my life. And just yesterday and the day before, I'm so happy that we all got together trying to help each other out.
Brad Seymour with ACS Roof Maintenance is putting tarps on homes as a way to give back.
Everybody right now is just, they don't know what to do. And they're just extremely grateful. So, and we're happy to do it.
I'm pretty thankful. Me and my family are pretty thankful because they didn't have to do this, and I'm glad they did because we wouldn't know what to do.
It's very rewarding. You know, when people are hurting, they need to be loved, and we're grateful for the opportunity to help them.
Seymour has at least 25 more homes to get to and says that's what they'll be doing the rest of the week.
If you guys have any questions or need us to come out, we'll definitely come take a look.
Wynne resident Jane Smith was one of many Arkansans affected by the tornado. She was one of the many gathered together in their safe place, as our meteorologist warned them Friday night.
We were in the basement. 3 children next door, their parents, the dog, our dog, my 3 grandchildren, my husband and son. But you didn't realize, you had no idea it was doing this much damage out here. It was so fast.
It was so fast. Sam Smith, her grandson, spoke about the experience of going through the storm from his point of view. Listen to this.
We came when when the sirens started going off, so we had about 5 minutes from when we parked to when we had to come down here and sit down. The neighbors were with us. We might have had 13 people in here with us, and once the door closed, you could just feel the pressure.
The school, I love it. We have very many traditions that I'm very proud of this school for, and I'm just really sad over the fact that it's gone.
But I know we will come back stronger and we can build a better school and keep those traditions going.
We all thought that we would get out early, and sure enough, we did. We got out at 1:30, which was such a God blessing from our superintendent, because otherwise kids would have been on buses and teachers would have still been here, and so that would have been even more devastating.
Warden visited her classroom, which was left full of debris, broken windows, and a fallen ceiling. She knows exactly what to do because, amazingly, she's been through this before.
This is actually my second school that I've taught in that got hit by a tornado. My school in Hickory Ridge was hit by a tornado in '97, and I mean, we just rebuilt and we did fine, so that's what will happen here.
No power, no problem. On Sunday, the congregation met in the parking lot.
You know, we can rebuild buildings, we can replant trees, we can replace cars, but you can't replace a human, and so praise God we don't have to, because we didn't lose anybody.
Senior pastor Scott Stewart says the church has roof damage and lost half of its trees. This 2x4 pierced a brick wall.
So the velocity and the strength of this wind turned weak objects into deadly ones.
The pastor says he believes God was stronger than this storm. An employee at Agape Academy sheltered a family caught outside as the tornado struck.
He was taking them to the safe space, which is under the building, and he gets to the door and it's locked. But he looks up and he sees the tornado coming.
The employee put the family in a corner and laid on top of them as the storm passed.
That was a supernatural deliverance for them, and so Jeff, he's our hero.
For Agape Church, repairs and cleanup will continue as they prepare for Easter Sunday,
and which is obviously the biggest service of the year.
Next to the church, a cell tower snapped in half. The storm also leaving these apartments decimated.
When I seen it yesterday, it was like, wow.
Sean Brooks lives in the Lennox apartments, where crews spent their Sunday cleaning up debris, and linemen worked to restore power.
Knowing that we can't come back home is kind of, nerve-wracking right now for us.
Now take a listen to one man who lives off of Cantrell here in Little Rock. He had an unexpected visitor just seconds before the tornado hit.
Well, about that time, I heard the doorbell ring, and I went to go look at the doorbell, and it was an Amazon driver, of course. Well, that was weird. So I was running, trying to get him inside and get my boy safe, and all of a sudden lights went off. It got dead silent, and I just remember just shutting my door, running back to my bathroom, throwing that mattress, getting my boy safe around my arms, and just praying to God that everything's okay. Next thing I know, a freight train, I mean, it was so loud, just came through. Floor was vibrating, and just before that, I was on the phone with my wife, and I was just like, I'm praying to God right now that He keeps us safe, and all glory goes to Him that He kept me and my boy safe. And then as soon as that was done, came outside, a bunch of neighbors that were able, we were all looking around, making sure everybody was okay, checking houses and stuff like that.
It's very difficult to see. It's very difficult to know what life is like in this area at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll speak for the entire weather team. Our top of mind, not only the residents here, but we were so concerned for school kids. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. PCSSD held those kids in class, and they kept them safe in the school building so that they weren't sent home on the roads while this was passing through. They kept them there so that they weren't in their homes alone without their parents. And so I think of those things, and that was an incredibly smart move on their part. And I just want to make that clear. Hayden, what a terrible time, any time for a tornado, but we're talking about one of the most densely populated areas, numerous homes, subdivisions. There's an apartment complex right to my back over here that likely suffered significant damage. Most of those folks probably don't have a place to sleep tonight as a result of that. The amount of traffic that are on these roads at that time of the day is just horrifying. And as you saw that tornado come, we had a live shot from RView11. Of course, that's our camera in downtown Little Rock on top of the Simmons Bank Tower, and it gave us the perfect view directly into that monster as it raced across West Little Rock, and we knew it was going to cross 430. You were looking at traffic cams, and you saw people traveling seemingly unaware that danger was imminent. So I think your question was reflect on that. Hayden, it was horrifying to see that coming through, to see this damage, to know what life is typically like in this community and in this neighborhood. And it certainly won't be that way ever again, and certainly not in the next several weeks to months.